Hi. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Phonetic Typewriter. It's an idea I came up with in late 2018, early 2019, and it derives from the methods that people have been developing for a while in ghost boxes, EVP Maker, even Echovox. The idea is that you're using clips of real speech or sounds as a sort of like a source for spirits to manipulate. One of the issues I had with things like the Ghost Box was that it wasn't clear to me what actually was being produced by the physical radio stations, or what was being produced, what audio was being produced, say, by EVP Maker. And I wanted to be able to distinguish between that and what the spirits were actually producing. So what I decided was that I needed to use a pre-recorded stream that I could then repeat over and over again, and then the idea would be to listen for changes in what was being said. Also, I tried to simplify the problem in that if you see here, I have an audio source, which is my cell phone, and I'm passing it directly into an audio interface. Now, if you just pass in a decently strong signal into the audio interface, no matter what you do, you're basically going to get a deterministic sound coming out. However, if you lower the volume and the sound that you actually take in from your cell phone is very low to begin with. So for example, I scale down the volume of the WAV file by, say, a factor of 100, and then I don't play in a very loud volume into my audio interface. And what happens then is that you get a mix of noise and pre-recorded audio. Now the noise part is presumably random hardware entropy, and that part then becomes the part that spirits can manipulate, whereas the actual recorded audio isn't going to change all that much. So then the term phonetic typewriter is the idea that if we add white noise plus audio, and then we apply a noise gate, the noise gate will detect areas where the noise has gotten just slightly louder. And in those regions, the full noise plus speech clip will come through. And in this way, spirits can sort of take a stream of audio and then type out the parts that they want to speak into phrases, into words, phrases, and sentences. All right, so what I'm going to first do is I'm going to play the sound of the audio clip by itself. So another thing that I had to optimize was how to present the scrambled speech. So what I did is I took an actual speech of a General David Petraeus speaking in front of Congress. It's a nice sort of clearly enunciated set of words. I scrambled that up at the level of each scrambled clip being 150 milliseconds. And then I pieced together 150 millisecond clips of audio. So let's play that first. Okay, so what we're listening to now is scrambled audio that I generated from a speech. So it's a continuous stream of audio. Now, when we lower the volume, you can hear that there's noise being mixed in. With the audio. So this noise mixed with the audio, then we're going to apply a noise gate. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the okay, so now it's playing. I can even restart the audio from the beginning. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and run this program called Noise Gator, which I'm providing for people to download. Let's look at what it does first. So the first thing it does is it asks for the input and output device. So in my case, it's the Focusrite audio interface. The output is not really, well, output is necessary to hear what, after it gated. The input is what we're bringing in from the cell phone. Let's look at the different parameters available to this noise gator. We have the noise gate threshold, which is how much louder than a certain threshold does the sound, which is a combination of noise and speech, have to be before it opens up and allows that speech to come through. Then we have a noise gate duration, which says that once the gate is opened, how long should we leave it open to allow the speech to come through. We also have an extender, which is something I added very recently, which can kind of stretch out the sounds. So if the gate, for example, is very small, we can set the extender to be much larger to extend out the sound to make it sound more realistic. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop this and restart it, because each time we run the program, it generates a WAV file, which we can analyze later. I'm going to go ahead and restart the recording, and then start up our program again. Select the input and output device. Then we need to adjust the noise gate threshold until it's blocking out most of the sound. Let's try setting the gate to 64 and then extend it. All right, we're going to now analyze this recording in Audacity. We won't need to do any post-processing per se, but we can simply go through the audio step by step and try to figure out what was being said. The first part here is before we optimize the gate. I hear the word projected. Something my purpose. And here's our subject. Don't watch him come here. That sounds different. How did he find this out? So sometimes if I hear something like this where people ask a question, there's visitors that come to in the spirit world that are always coming to the setup that they have to interact with my devices. And the last question is like, well, how did he figure this out? I guess we'll talk about more of that later, how I figure things out. I would have to say that to answer the spirit, it's been very progressive. it started out with me building on technologies that had already been developed and then sort of adding in my own ideas. And once again, the phonetic typewriter is one of my earliest ideas, and I'll have a lot more methods to share with you over the coming weeks. We can talk to Portal. Okay. I don't quite understand. It's something about, can we hack our prop or something? There's 2,000 something in Instant Portal. So that gets to another point that I wanted to make, which is with the Phonetic Typewriter, we're getting about 6 150 millisecond clips per second that I'm feeding into the system. If you imagine each clip being on and off, that would give you a total possibility of 64 to the power of 6 or 64 different combinations that they can generate in just a second. When you add in possibility of taking parts of clips or a mix of different ones, it goes up even higher. So it turns out that even though you're feeding in a fixed stream of audio, you can get quite a bit of different combinations of words each time. Something prohibit. Something part to item. So they often talk about my cats. We've gotten 2 kittens lately, and I hear the word kitten here. He's nervous. The kittens are nervous. I'm nervous. What can I say? The only word I hear in there is the word development. Shifted something. Something clean this up. So what I'm presenting to you is a method that doesn't require any post-processing. Once you've applied the gate to the signal, this is the output audio. There's a lot of post-processing techniques that I've developed in the last 2 years, and we'll be going through that. This particular program doesn't include any of those post-processing tricks, partly because a lot of the post-processing things require machine learning, which then requires using a GPU, which not many people have to do the post-processing. They surely present on Portal. I hear the word mortal. Sometimes I hear the word mortal to describe me. Oh, what a nice thing to say. Something sentence, and you almost hear the word sentence twice. They brought in a napkin different than that. That's a weird one. Okay. Okay, so I've switched now to here, I've switched to the 64 millisecond gate with the 64 millisecond extender. So let's see how this sounds. Something header with a something button. Computerize it. Here's the other purpose. Something, our energy. You started this? So my father, who passed away a few years ago, his name was Harry. Sounds like that name. Who knows? Let's keep going. Now, it's very quick there, but it sounds like what a development. Better something direction. He insulted something. I hear the word insult a lot. I think what happens is sometimes people get frustrated because I'm always playing around and trying different portals, and sometimes things sound good, sometimes things don't sound good. And there's people on my team that are always like, well, don't insult them. It's sort of like, they want to encourage us to do this research. So they don't like it when people are trying to discourage us. I hear the word idiot in here. Something message. Yeah, I don't know. So that's the method right there. You can see that it's jam-packed with a lot of information. Is it spirit? Is it random? Is it just what the recording pushed through? You have to do a lot of experiments with this method, like restarting the audio file from the beginning and trying again and seeing what results you get each time to see if things are changing. And you got to listen to messages and figure out, does this sound reasonable to me? One of the things that I noticed early on was, in the beginning, it seemed like I was picking up astral type entities who were either trying to scare me or get attention, and then at some point I seemed to have connected with like a heaven team who was a little bit more constant, a little more technical, certainly encouraging. So when you do this yourself, it depends on how you're resonating. If you're in a good mood, maybe you'll resonate with good spirits. If you're in a bad mood, you might resonate with some negative spirits. I also think that as this technology is developed, the heaven teams will have the ability to connect to different researchers who decide to use some of these advanced methods. So what that means is if you can get everything set up like what I have, or some variation, you may get a heaven team fairly early on because they're eager to test out this technology in other locations. And that would include other locations throughout the world. There's spirits who speak languages, different languages, and they're interested in having their own portals. So that now describes this method called the Phonetic Typewriter. As I said, you can download it. I also provide the audio file that I generated. I realize now that I could also give you guys the script to generate scrambled audio if you need that too. All you need then is a nice long speech or something. You can use, there's a site called, I want to say American Rhetoric, but basically it's an archive of large audio files of speeches. So there's a lot of things you can use to get scrambled up speech. As you can hear, there's a bit of noise in the audio. That's something that we'll address with some methods that I've developed for removing noise. But actually, it's interesting because even though I started with the Phonetic Typewriter, as soon as I recognized that there were voices sort of peering through beyond the actual recording, I basically abandoned this method, and I only revisited it in the last week so that I could distribute some software for people to try.